All right, as talked about at the beginning of the podcast, it's now time to talk some golf. And we're going to bring in one of the golf guys here at Roto Grinders and probably the hardest working guy here at Roto Grinders, Notorious. How you doing, my friend?
No, I'm doing well. Excited to talk some golf. I'm surprised you had me on for this.
Oh, man, you know better than that. We're boys. We're old school grinders. We're old school Roto Grinders. And big congrats to you, my friend. Just a massive week in football. I know you're not a big tournament player, but it feels good for a six-figure day, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, it was my biggest payday to date. So yeah, it was pretty awesome. I was sweating the night game pretty hard. It's always tough when you don't have any players left and you just see everyone else climbing the scoreboards catching you. But luckily, Aaron Rodgers got that first down at the end of the game, and yeah, sealed it up for me.
Were you wearing your Maurice Jones-Drew jersey? That's all I want to know.
I don't even know if I have it anymore. I have to check the back of my closet.
All right, that's an inside joke between me and you. We have the Safeway Open this weekend. PGA off of their, you said 3-week break in between their seasons here, so not a huge break. And you know, for people that are not familiar here with golf, that's what we're here to do today. We're here to talk some golf. We're here to talk about Safeway Open and one of the best in the industry, Notorious, here with us. So let's talk about this event in general, Safeway Open. What are we looking at here?
All right. So for those of you looking at course history, that kind of thing, this used to be the Fries.com Open. It's played at the Silverado Country Club in beautiful Napa Valley, California. Par 72, just over 7,200 yards. So it's not particularly long or short. There are 4 reachable par 5s. So there's going to be a lot of low scores. The winning score has been 15 under par in each of the last 2 seasons. The rough isn't too thick, so we're going to give an edge to the bombers over the accuracy guys. And then, yeah, for course history, it's only been played at Silverado the last 2 years. So when you're doing your research, make sure not to use anything before 2014.
So we're using 2014, 2015 data. We're looking for those bombers, like you said. So let's talk about those bombers. Is there a bomber that's really like standing out to you when you're doing your research here?
Yeah, so a lot of people are going to be on Paul Casey this week. I mean, he comes in with the best form of anyone in the field. But I'm going to go down a bit further. I like Justin Thomas. He's a volatile player, which should help keep his ownership down a little bit. But he has just as much upside as any of the top guys. He was T6 at his last event of the Tour Championship, and he was T3 here last year. You know, he's better on courses that don't require accuracy. He makes a lot of birdies. And, yeah, nice history at this event.
You say T3. You're going to have to dumb this down for me. I'm guessing that means he finished third. Come on. You know I play golf, but I don't think I've watched an actual event since Tiger Woods was good. So you're here to dumb it down for me, so we're dumbing it down for the listeners as well.
Yeah, so T3 just tied for third.
Okay. All right. Well, I can get behind that.
But speaking of that, we do need to go golfing. We haven't been yet.
I know, man. I know. Yeah, either I need to get out there. Which are you still in the Utah area? I hate flying into Salt Lake, so that's not going to happen. So you'll have to come to Florida. I know that just sounds awful for you and the wife.
Yeah, as long as the hurricane clears up a bit, we're down.
And I got power again. We're good. All right. So in this, talking DraftKings here, over this $10,000 price range, you mentioned Paul Casey. He's the highest priced guy. Obviously, one of the safer guys from what you're kind of saying. Anybody else in this 10,000 plus range that you're looking at here?
The other guy I like a lot is Jon Rahm. He's kind of one of these young guys with a ton of talent. Played in 8 events last year, and he had 6 top 25s on the PGA Tour. He's really long off the tee, hits it 306 yards on average. And he's one of those guys that's just ready to break through with his first win. And this is an event that, we've seen a lot of these inexperienced players come up and win. All of the Web.com graduates are going to be in the field. For those of you who don't know, Web.com is just basically the minor leagues of the PGA Tour. And so with the fall season, all of the best players from that tour get to come up and play the PGA Tour and try to earn their cards.
So there's going to be a lot of golfers this weekend is what you're trying to say?
Yeah, a lot of golfers and a lot of golfers that people don't really know, which is great. And really one of the best weeks of the year for tournaments.
All right. All right, so I'm looking here at your first look article, which everybody can find, all the time, every sport. You're the only one that beats me. I do the morning grind, and you're the only article up that beats me. We need to talk about this, but anyway, I'm looking at Grillo. I'm going to destroy these names this whole podcast, but he returning winner is what I'm looking at.
Yep. Last year he was a web.com guy, like I was just talking about. And first event of the season, came out and won the event. So he's definitely a guy that a lot of people are going to have. And yeah, he's one of the best players in the last few months. So definitely a good play there.
All right, now looking at this next range of guys in this $9,000 price range, from playing PGA and reading your articles last year, Kevin Na made a lot of my lineups. Any interest here in him or any of these other $9,000 guys?
Yeah, so Na's probably one of the safer plays on the board. He's not the longest hitter off the tee, which is what I'm kind of looking for, but he does make up for it with great long iron shots. He was a second place finish here last year, and the price of $9,900 does help open things up. So yeah, I like that play. I'll probably look to fade this 9K range mostly, but he's my favorite of the three.
Well, if you're not liking any of the $9,000 guys, what about the $8,000 guys?
Yeah, going down to Tony Finau. He's from Utah, so I'm obviously a little bit biased here. But, he's as long off the tee as anybody on tour. He's played this event in each of the last 2 years, finishing T12 and T32 for Stevie, tied for 12th and tied for 32nd. And he's had 40 birdies in those two events. We know the DraftKings scoring really benefits those birdie makers. So even if he doesn't have a high finish, he should, have a really good week on DraftKings.
Now, is he a guy we can trust in cash games, or are we sticking with him tournaments only?
I like him in both. He's got a lot of experience in the last couple of years on tour. So, I think you can do him in cash. He's typically more of a volatile player, kind of like Justin Thomas. But in this weaker field, I think you can play him in cash.
I'm going to murder this name. Jason Korarik. Right? I pretty much already said that I'm just going to murder these names. I remember using him last year, and he was a pretty consistent guy, right?
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to go with Cockrock, but yeah, Korarik is good too. Yeah, it's actually Kokrak, but I like Korarik. That's pretty good too.
Yeah, we're looking at like him, any of these other $8,000 guys. Maybe more tournament guys. Anybody that really like popping.
Yeah, so I actually do like Kokrak quite a bit. He's not the best putter on tour, but he did have 3 top 17 finishes to close out last season. He's another guy really long off the tee, and he makes a lot of birdies. He's one of those guys that should be priced $8,500, $8,600, something like that. So you're getting a discount on him. Probably one of my favorite plays for tournaments.
All right. Let's go down a little bit. Let's look at this $7,000 range. Just from knowing very little about, fantasy golf, this is usually the sweet spot, right? Like the 7,000 to 7,900. I know you talk about it a lot. Gibb talks about it a lot. STL talks about it. Like this price range is usually where you find your value.
Oh, yeah. It's usually the favorite price range of mine, especially this week. There's a ton of the guys that I'm really looking at, especially from the web.com tour. All
right. Well, give me a few that you like here.
All right. So let's start with Wesley Bryan. Have you heard of this guy?
No. I know Tiger Woods is and Phil Mickelson and all the guys in the Ryder Cup, because that was like one of the most entertaining things I've seen.
All right. So after the show, go on YouTube, Google or YouTube this guy. He's just been doing trick shot videos for the last couple of years with him and his brother. And, they just do some crazy trick shots. But, now he's making his name for himself. He had 3 wins on the web.com tour and played in 4 PGA Tour events last season. Looks like he could be in for a breakout year. But, yeah, some of those trick shots are just incredible. So you got to check them out.
There's only one group that I know that does trick shots. It's Dude Perfect. It's not close, but I have to check out Wesley Bryan. I'll give you that.
Trick golf shots.
Hey, they can do trick golf shots too. Like those guys are legit. I can't stop watching Dude Perfect. But anyway, so I'll have to check out this Wesley Bryan guy. I'm a YouTube guy. I'll definitely check that out when we get done here. I was looking at, is it Hudson Swafford, top 20 in both of the events in 2015 and 2014. Is He another guy that could be an interesting play in this price range?
Yeah, he's probably my favorite play overall in terms of value. I think he's going to be a lot of people's favorite play just because, like you mentioned, does have great course history, and he's made 12 straight cuts on tour. So, the main goal of building PGA lineups is to get all 6 of your guys through the cut. And, he's one of the more safest guys in the field. So I think he's going to be popular, but I think you can use him in all formats.
Yeah, I've played probably 10 actual weeks of fantasy golf, and maybe one time I was able to get 6 through. So that's why I brought you on, and I happened to notice that as I was looking at your first look here. Anybody else in the $7,000 range that really stands out to you?
Yeah, a few more guys. The first one I want to bring up, Grayson Murray. A lot of people haven't heard of this guy. He's actually Jon Rahm's teammate at Arizona State. And, this is my guy in the fall season. I'd rather be wrong about a guy early than wrong about a guy late. So I'm going to be on him early. He doesn't have the name recognition as Bryson DeChambeau or Wesley Bryan, but he's going to have a big year. He led the web.com in the all-around ranking. He won a couple weeks ago on that tour. He was 4th in driving distance, 1st in birdie average, and he's only 7,500. I think he could be in for a big year.
All right, that's always a good thing. Let's talk value, man. Let's get into this $6,000 price range. Let's talk about some of these value guys. Obviously, we're going to have some, right? Like we have all these young guys coming over from the web.com. Is that what you said?
Yeah, web.com tour.
All right, so we got these guys coming over. There's obviously going to be some value. There's going to be some long shots in this price range. What are we doing? Cash games, is there anybody down in this $6,000 range? I'm sure there's tournament plays.
So, yeah, for cash games, I think sticking in the 7 to 8K range is going to be your best bet. A couple more guys there, Jamie Lovemark and Harris English, both look like solid plays as well. But like you mentioned, some great tournament plays down here below 7,000. The first one, Ollie Schneiderjans, one of the best names around for sure.
Yeah, I would have murdered that.
We've been expecting big things from him for the last couple of years, and this finally could be his time. He won in June on the web.com tour, and he's one of the many graduates in this field. He's just a guy that a ton of talent. He just hasn't been able to put it all together. So in this weak field, I like him at 6,700. And then the other guy is Aaron Wise. He's another guy nobody's ever really heard of. He was the individual champion NCAA at Oregon. Picked up a win on the McKenzie Tour in Canada, and he had top 15s in all 7 starts over there. He's only 20 years old, but he's got a ton of upside. He's going to be a name that we know quite a bit over the next few years, and this could be our chance to take him before anybody else knows who he is.
All right, you heard it first here on the Morning Grind on a Wednesday edition, getting some PGA talk done. What about tournaments? Is there anybody that, long shots that could score big here? Any of your, I'm asking you for a sneaky GPP play. Like, that's what I like. I want a 3% owned guy.
All right, so Wise is going to be your guy there, but I'm going to go Charles Howell. He's usually, one of the most popular plays on the board, but he's been dealing with an injury, and I haven't heard his name yet. Doing all my research across the industry, so I think a lot of people are going to be off of him just because of the injury. He's been a veteran on tour for a ton of years. He's a top 10 machine, especially in the early part of the season. And, I like to call him Chucky Three Sticks. So he's got a good nickname.
All right, so when he makes the cut, I'm just going to text you Chucky Three Sticks. That's what the text is going to say, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So, all right, I'll lock in Hal because those are the type of plays that I like. Nobody's talking about these guys. Man, that's kind of a rundown of your first initial thoughts here, what you're looking at for this weekend. A lot of interesting tournaments over on DraftKings and Fantasy Aces here for some golf. Let's real quick before I let you get out of here. I'm going to make you do something else before we get out of here too. But before we get out of here, what's the safest way to approach golf? Is it to, play one of these high up guys, or is it just to try to find, 6 consistent guys?
So for me, it differs week to week. You want to find the best values and plug them in first, and then see if you have enough to spend up on one of those top guys. This week, we don't have anybody that's less than 11-1 odds to win. Typically, when we have Jason Day or Dustin Johnson in the field, they'll be 5-1 or something like that to win. So you can figure that they have a pretty good chance to win. But on a week like this, I kind of like going down a little bit because I don't love the guys at the top. So if you do that, it really allows you to have a more balanced lineup. And when you do that, you can really get 6 of 6 through more often. And like I mentioned, ton of value in that 7K range this week. I really think if you load up on that and then take a couple of the top price guys, you'll be looking good for 6 of 6.
So what you're saying pretty much is you wouldn't be shocked if Paul Casey wins the tournament, but the value that you can get to build out the rest of your lineup kind of going down from him, is a better approach this week.
Yeah, that's how I'm approaching it. Everyone has their own strategy, and that could obviously be wrong. But I really think Justin Thomas and Jon Rahm are the plays off of the more popular Casey.
All right, before you get out of here, I didn't even tell you we were going to do this. That's just how I do the morning grind. I like throwing curveballs. Football is prime right now. Like, football is football. A lot of people have talked about, you winning $100,000 this week, taking down the monster. I want to get inside your head, Notorious. I want to talk to you about your winning lineup here. You put up 182 points, and you say that it was close. Obviously, it was close. You won by 0.24 points. Let's talk about your lineup, man. You went Tom Brady. I have your lineup. I don't know if you have your lineup. I'm sure you have your lineup in your head. I have your lineup right here in front of me. You went Tom Brady at quarterback. I'm guessing you were just a believer in the Tom Brady FU game against one of the worst pass defenses.
Yeah, pretty much. Angry Brady is always a good Brady, and I expected them to air it out even if the game got out of hand. Plus, I know you're a fan. So, are you a fan?
No, I'm a Red Sox fan. Red Sox fan in Florida. That's how I roll. But yeah, our Dolphins suck. I feel your pain with your Jags. Like, I get it. Like, our football team's not good.
This was supposed to be their year. I don't know. I don't know.
Hey, just get used to saying this is supposed to be their year. I've been saying it for a long time. All right. At running back, you paired Brady with Martellus Bennett at tight end. 2.7%. Did that kind of shock you with Bennett?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, when they're building lineups, when they're playing on both FanDuel and DraftKings, they tend to use the underpriced guy on one of the sites and use them exclusively on that site. So, I mean, Bennett was a little bit higher owned on DraftKings just because he was so cheap. So I think if anybody wanted their Bennett exposure, they did it over on DraftKings. So I was more than willing to pair him with Brady. I knew he'd be pretty low owned. And, shout out to Siege. We do the FD lineup builder show, and it was one of his favorite plays. And so yeah, I mean, I like the pairing there.
He got that from me, right? Like,
yeah. Oh yeah, so shout out to you.
Yeah,
shout out.
We did the podcast, and I told him Bennett was going to be a top 3 tight end this week, and I just pounded in his head for 2 straight days. So, no, I'm kidding. Me and CJ were both on Bennett this week. We both had good weeks. Obviously, you had a really good week too. You went Gurley and Bell at running back. You don't even have to tell me why you played Bell. Bell's just that guy. But what was your thought here behind Gurley? Gurley, not a guy that I was on last week. I don't trust this offensive line. Were you playing him, for the touchdown upside? Because on FanDuel, you just need touchdowns.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they're at home. They were favorites against the Bills. I expect him to eventually break out. I like the touchdown upside there. And, I mean, their offensive line has been bad, but I was hoping they were going to be playing from ahead. Unfortunately, they weren't. But he still got his touchdown. And yeah, I mean, I thought he'd be a little lower owned than that. I can't believe he was 16% or something like that.
Yeah, I was a little shocked by that ownership as well, especially in a high-dollar buy-in tournament. I guess a lot of people were just expecting to break out. Now, at wide receiver, you went Meredith and Hilton. Was that a meant-to-be correlation, or did you just play Meredith because he was so cheap?
Yeah, so I had a number of tournament lineups with Luck, Hilton, and Meredith, and then on the other side with, Hoyer, Meredith, and Hilton. But, in this one, I just liked both those receivers. And, I think I originally had that lineup with Hogan paired with Brady and Bennett, too. And then I eventually got off of that to Meredith. So, I mean, it was a good pivot for me. And then Hilton was one of my favorite plays of the week. I had a ton of him in both cash games and tournaments.
Yeah, averaging 11 targets per game this year. Obviously, Hilton, really solid play. You went Jordan Matthews with your third wide receiver spot. I'm guessing you were expecting a lot more than 8.5 points.
Yeah, I couldn't believe I took down that big of a tournament with a dud like that. He really didn't have a great game. It was kind of a weird game where the game flow was just off, and then it was just kind of a weird game. He didn't get the targets I was expecting him to get. With Darius Slay, supposed to be matching up on the outside. I thought he'd get a lot of looks in the slot, but he didn't. And a lot of sharp people were on him. But yeah, it's just that sometimes plays just don't work out.
Yeah, 4 targets. Nobody expected Matthews to get 4 targets. If I would have told you Matthews caught all of his targets, you would have expected a lot bigger game. So you went with Adam Vinatieri at kicker, high total game, indoors. That's kind of your thought process there, or was he a guy you used a lot?
Yeah, pretty much. I like to target kickers on high scoring offenses, preferably at home and preferably favored. So, him and Crosby and can't remember the other guy, but I had quite a bit of exposure to those 3 kickers.
Pittsburgh Steelers defense. This just goes to show you don't need a defense that scores 30 points to win tournaments. Pittsburgh Steelers, 3.6% owned. They scored 7 points. Just enough for you here.
Yeah, I wish I would have played the Vikings, but I guess it didn't really matter for that tournament. But yeah, I like the correlation play with Le'Veon Bell. I thought the Steelers could get out to a big lead. They could force some turnovers from Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's just been throwing some terrible passes this year. So I like that play. They were at home too, which I like to see from a defense.
All right, man. It was a well-constructed lineup. Obviously, you can see the thought and process, and now you've heard the process and thought behind Notorious's big lineup, and I'm pumped for you, man. Like I said, I'm pumped for you. We've been friends here for a few years now, and definitely pumped for you. I appreciate you coming on, talking some, golf, talking about your lineup, and I can't wait to talk some basketball with you here moving forward.
Oh, yeah, man. Basketball is a couple weeks away. Really can't wait for that. I got to get busy on my Roto Academy courses. I'm falling behind on those. Hopefully I can get those going. But, speaking of knowing you for a long time, what does TPFL stand for? I've never known.
Tampa, Florida, man.
Ah, I thought it was like Texans, Packers, freaking love or something. I don't know.
That's a good one. I'm gonna have to next time somebody asks me, I just want to see their facial reaction by just saying that, like Texans, Packers, football love, right? Like that one. All right. Any final thoughts before we get out of here, Noto?
You've been watching baseball? I'm sure you have.
Yeah. Did the Dodgers end up winning?
Yeah, Dodgers ended up winning. And is Clayton Kershaw like the most unlucky pitcher in postseason ever?
People are gonna talk about him giving up 5 earned runs today, but let's be honest, he looked great in that game until he just got tired. He was on short rest at the end of the game.
Oh, and then bullpen comes in, 3 pitches, 3 runs. That was pretty bad.
Yeah, Baez, how bad is that guy?
Yeah, and you see Kershaw just pulling his hair out in the dugout. Feel bad for the guy, but yeah, he's still my favorite pitcher for sure.
Best pitcher in baseball, and they did get to Game 5. There's still hope for them. It'll be interesting. You think they're going to go Rich Hill?
Yeah, it sounds like they're going Rich Hill. Definitely can't trust, Urias on the road. So it's going to be a tough spot, though, with Scherzer pitching.
Rich Hill, Scherzer, Dodgers offense, Nationals offense, Game 5. Going to be interesting for sure. PGA is going to be interesting. Safeway Open. I'm guessing you're still doing incentives and stuff here at Roto Grinders?
Yep, always doing incentives. Right now we have projections and then just my expert picks and then the expert consensus rankings, which are always fun to do. Check those out in the incentive section.
All right. If you guys want some more in-depth for the Safeway Open this weekend, make sure you head over there, check that out. It's going to wrap it up here for the Wednesday edition of the Morning Grind. We'll be back tomorrow on Thursday. Siege will be joining us. We'll be talking some football. Good luck in your PGA, NBA, MLB contest tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow.